You know, the announcement came as no surprise to anyone because, as you know, the elites, as you call them, had all the jokes written, you know, making fun of you, announcing it in your basement. What do you say to those people who, you know, underestimate you, not to mention mock you for wanting to get in?
Well, come by Saturday. Come by Saturday, Toronto Congress Centre, 650 Dixon Road. And it'll take the smile off their face when they say 4,000 people there with 4 days' notice.
You know, TVO
they're going to wake up real quick.
TVO just released some new polling yesterday, and it was, you know, most of Ontarians knew what happened about the scandal with Patrick Brown.
Yep.
And 26% people wanted Christine Elliott if given the choice, and they had you at minus 26. What do you say to that?
Well, I don't put any faith into the polls. Let's look at the only poll that counts is on the election day or nomination day, if you want to say that. All I know is I'm getting massive support across the province, and we're going to sign up a lot of members, and we're going to bring this across the finish line.
Okay, but how do you do that? You know, you're fighting a narrative that is going to probably dredge up a lot of old conversations, a lot of old moments. You know, you're going in with a mayor who kind of mocks your mother's basement, and everyone kind of has a thing to say about Doug Ford. How do you, as the one person I think running who is not, you're not attached to any party machine. You're on your own here. Well,
you know something, they can mock my mother's basement, but they've all been there, including the mayor numerous times in support of him when he failed as leader, but he was in my mother's basement. We had a big event for him. So, you know something, we're going to get a group of folks together on Saturday, and I'll tell you, there's not too many politicians in this country that can get thousands of people on 4 days' notice. We're going to have them there, and that's a fraction of the team. We're going to start respecting the taxpayers. Alex, we're going to bring transparency and accountability back to Queen's Park, and we all know there hasn't been any transparency or accountability at all.
Okay, and let's talk about that. Let me stop you there, because we hear that line from an awful lot of people. We heard it from Trudeau, we heard it from Kathleen Wynne, we hear it from everybody, and then when they get in, the veil and then the blinds go down. I want to ask you what you'll do differently, because right now the party, you know, led by Vic Fedeli right now, came out yesterday and said he's got to root out the rot. Last week they had no problem with the 200,000 membership. They had no problem with the accounting. So are you suggesting that there's going to be a complete cleaning of the house?
Well, we're going to go in there and do what we did at City Hall. I have a proven track record. I understand the numbers inside and out. I sat on budget at City Hall, the fifth largest budget in Canada, and we found $1 billion of savings. We delivered a 0% tax increase the first year when we went into the CFO's office, and he told us that there was $774 million of pressure going into the year, and we needed a 25% tax increase. And David Miller kept increasing the taxes. There is so much waste in government, no matter if it's the City of Toronto, which we see under Mayor Tory right now, endless waste. Budgets are going up $1 billion. We're paying $1 billion a month in servicing the debt.
Okay, sure. But here's the problem. Vic Fedeli has turned the spotlight on his own party and is essentially saying it's corrupt. So, you know, this narrative against the Liberals can now be used against the PC party. I mean, the executive is being blamed or accused of not wanting to have a leadership convention at all. And I think the only reason we may actually see a leadership race is because you have forced their hand.
Well, you know, what I can say about that, there's going to be a lot of changes down there. I'm an outsider, and I think we need to bring an outsider in, someone that hasn't been entrenched into Queen's Park and all the politics. But my main goal is going after the Liberals and Kathleen Wynne. And I call them the McGuinty-Wynne Liberals that have destroyed this province, that are gouging the middle class. Actually, forget them, not just the middle class. They're gouging everyone. And people are fed up with sticking their hands in their pocket, and there they have Kathleen Wynne's hand in their pocket trying to take their money out. The government always thinks they're smarter. As you know, they're the smartest people on earth. They aren't the smartest people. I believe in putting money back into the taxpayer's pocket. Let them spend it the way they want.
Okay, so how do you pay for this? How are you going to pay? I mean, the fees are astronomical to even run in this possible leadership, but they'll set the prices, obviously, at some point. But how are you going to pay for this kind of campaign?
Well, we have a lot of support. We have a tremendous amount of support. I want to see the rules. I want to see how much we can raise. I'm confident I'm going to raise it very quickly.
Are you going to be turning to Bay Street?
You know, whoever's unhappy with the situation there is, I want to unite the party. And that's going to be challenging, but I will unite the party. We are going to win the next election. We're going to start respecting the taxpayers. And that's what I'm going to be focused on. And we are going to bring transparency. I have a proven record of bringing transparency and accountability to government.
Okay, you do have a track record, though, of being brash and bold and being an outsider. And some would say that you have been divisive. So how do you unite a party?
Well, I've talked to, there's 27 members. I've probably talked to 18 of them so far. I've heard nothing but positive comments, and I'm going to continue talking and reaching out to the other 27 people. But I'm not only just reaching out to them, we're going to win a large majority, in my opinion. And I've reached out to already the nominated candidates, and then there's another 31 ridings that still have to nominate a candidate. So that's what our task is going to be, make sure we get 31 ridings that have representation, and then we're going to move forward as a one united team.
Okay, so you will do very well, I think, in the greater Toronto area, Scarborough, Mississauga. There's a huge voice outside of downtown Toronto, which will stick its nose likely up at your run if you become the leader. But you've got to win over other areas of Ontario. You've got to win over the North, who feels, that feels extraordinarily ignored. You've got to win over the West, London, Sarnia. These areas are all screaming mad about not having a voice at Queen's Park.
I agree, and they haven't had a voice, but I'm going to be their voice. I'm going to be the voice of all the residents of Ontario. And don't get me wrong, I'm strong in the 416. We could have had seats in the 416. I ended up getting 350% more votes than every single MPP that ran for the PC party last year when I ran for mayor. We're stronger in the 905, and we're even stronger in the 705 and the 519. Those are the people we love. The rural folks, they've been ignored. They remind me of the people of Scarborough that have been ignored for year after years and years and years. We're going to start paying attention to the people in the 613, 519, 705 area code.
I know that this party needs women to vote in order. We know the public sector unions will likely go to Kathleen Wynne. That's how the arrangement works. But you need to attract women to bolster the vote, and the base needs to be bigger in order for you to win. How do you appeal to women? Because a lot of people are suggesting we have to have a woman lead right now to go up against two women. So how do you go up against the women in a time where everyone's talking about gender politics? And I don't like gender politics. I want the best person for the job. But how do you go up against that narrative? Well,
first of all, I think the needs of women, men, everyone across the board are similar to the point of when my wife opens up the hydro bill and takes a look at it. That affects women, men, everyone. When they get gouged on their taxes, that affects everyone. When you hear about billion-dollar boondoggles from the helicopter scandal, Orange Helicopter, the eHealth billion-dollar boondoggle, to the gas plants, that's what frustrates people, no matter if they're men or women. I'm going to put money back into women's pocket and men's pocket.
We're in the Me Too movement. You saw Patrick Brown. It brought him down. We have seen countless people brought down by allegations. It is not it's not a partisan issue. This hits both sides of the aisle.
That's right.
Do you have any concerns? We know how relentless and dogged media and social media were with your brother Rob Ford. Are you concerned that you yourself will find yourself in the same kind of controversy as Patrick Brown?
Let me tell you, there's no family in the history of Canadian politics that was more vetted than us. We're an open book. They've seen a lot of tough things that our family's gone through, but they've also seen a lot of great things that we've done for the community. And that's what we're going to focus on. The media has chased us everywhere. They've been to the cottage down south, to my plants in the U.S. They've chased us everywhere. They used to stake us out at our factory, over at our house. No one. They even checked my kindergarten teacher. So no one has been vetted more than the Ford family. Anywhere.
So you're confident that we're not going to have another, scandal? Because you're going to be painted by your opposition. If you're chosen leader, you're going to be facing a narrative of Trump, Donald Trump.
Well, listen, I'm not worried about Donald Trump. I'm worried about the people of Ontario. We're going to get this place humming. We're going to bring jobs back to Ontario. Poor people down in Etobicoke South at the Campbell Soup facility. Campbell Soup's packing up and they're leaving. They aren't staying because the hydro costs are through the roof. The water tax rates are through the roof. Property tax rates are through the roof. And we're supposed to be attracting businesses. We're going to bring businesses back to Ontario. We're going to have the strongest economy in North America. And I say to the people down south, come up to Ontario. We're gonna make sure our taxes are lower. We're gonna be competitive, and we have the smartest and brightest people in the world right here in Ontario.
We're talking to Doug Ford right now, who will be running in the leadership for the PC leader to take us into possibly the 2018 election. I want to ask you a little bit about your plans for the platform. I know the platform very well. It's the People's Guarantee. Yeah. Do you plan to run on that specific platform?
Well, we're going to run on vast majority of the platform.
What will you take out? Will you remove the carbon tax?
Yeah, we're going to review that carbon tax. I think it's a nasty tax, as I say, but we're going to review that. But the vast majority of the platform we're going to keep. We're going to make sure that we focus on the vast majority of that platform.
There are those that say that platform went way too far to the center. So there's a large part of the base that didn't like it, but they were willing to hold their nose and vote for it, given they are so desperate to get rid of Kathleen Wynne. Will you move the party further to the right, and will you then go further in cutting, let's say, the waste, which we know there is, but no one wants to talk about it?
Well, I'll talk about it all day long because I know there's waste. There's tons of waste.
So where would you cut?
Down at Queen's Park. But again, the train, as you know, and everyone has seen this train's going down the track about 160 miles an hour in the last 4 or 5 days. We're going to review the platform from top to bottom, which we've been doing, and we're going to find the waste. And I can guarantee you one thing, I'll be back on here, and we're going to be talking about the platform in more depth.
Okay, so...
But I encourage everyone, I got to tell you, I will be saying a few more things about our platform. This Saturday at 650 Dixon Road, we're going to have a rally that people have never seen before, and come by the Toronto Congress Center.
The one thing that we've heard a lot about is that the base is divided. We've got a base that is made up of all sorts of ethnicities. One thing Patrick Brown did do was take that base from 12,000 to what they said was 200,000. I want to know, in that base, how do you then bring the base back together, which was feeling very much alienated? The social conservatives, you have people on the further right who really felt like they had no voice. How do you unite the base?
You have to listen to all sides and unite them. And a good government, you can't go one way or another. You can't go too far right. You can't go too far left. You have to make sure under a party that you're going to have some people that have different views than others. But we have to sit down and come up with a plan that's going to work for everyone. And I feel I can do that.
You can't please everyone. There'll be those who are going to look to you.
You have a good deal when both sides are disgruntled a little bit.
Okay, fair enough. But you're going to have a lot of people that are looking to you and possibly saying, you know what, that Doug Ford could possibly work for us. You're going to get the social conservatives saying, are you going to get rid of the sex ed curriculum?
Well, we're gonna review that.
Where are you at on that?
Well, we're going to review it, and I think the most important thing when it comes to sex ed curriculum is sit down with, number one, the parents. I don't think they sat down with the parents. Sit down with the parents, the teachers, and the experts. That's what I believe.
But you feel that there's a need for it?
Well, we're gonna sit down and talk to the groups that are involved. Parents are number one. We've had a lot of parents upset about it. I want to hear about it. I want to hear some of their issues, and we'll work on it. Okay. I can promise you that.
Let me ask you this. I want to talk about comments that were said by a Conservative MP today, and it directly speaks to what Vic Fideli said yesterday about rooting out the rot. In specific, he questioned this membership of 200,000. He believes that those numbers, that's being manipulated so that they can go and investigate and possibly take out anybody they feel might threaten. Are you concerned that the membership will be scrubbed of anybody who stands up in their way?
Well, again, I've heard this from, and I haven't heard the comments yet, to be fair to MP Nuttall, but I've heard from a lot of politicians in our own party, provincially. I've heard from a lot of politicians on the federal side and municipally. We have to make some changes at Queen's Park.
Right, but I get that. But I think there's a lot of people that are concerned that their membership's going to get torn up because they may not be one of the preferred kind of members who are going to vote in this leadership.
Under my watch, no membership should be torn up per se. Everyone, we live in a democratic society. If you want to be able to sign up for, be it the NDP, the Liberals, the Green, or the PCs, and hopefully the PCs, that we should accept. people's memberships.
So how
Let them
concerned are
voice
you
their
about
opinion.
the fact that we've got Vic Fideli out there saying we've got to investigate this, and there's not going to be any transparency on it?
I think Vic, and I didn't hear his comments, but what I believe he is saying, there were some false memberships he believed. That's his concern.
Right.
That's what I understand.
But that opens the door that they could go in and investigate behind closed doors and start removing people's memberships. And I think a lot of people in the membership are saying, well, how do I know I won't lose mine?
Well, as long as everything matches up, if your address matches up with your name and your phone number, it's very simple. Make the phone call. Look up their address. Make sure everything falls into place. Make sure that, and I've seen this in nominations, you have 40 people living in one home. Doesn't cut it. So again, through a database, they can match up addresses versus names and phone numbers. And when something doesn't look right, they have to make a call.
Last question. What's your pitch? What are you going to run on if you're selected leader?
My pitch has always been the same pitch. We're going to take care of the people. We're going to respect the taxpayers. We're going to bring transparency and accountability back to the taxpayers. All the time, everywhere. People, I hear it every single day. I'm sick and tired of the taxes. They can't afford it. Middle class is being gouged. They're being annihilated. As a matter of fact, not just the middle class. Everyone's being annihilated by these taxes. It's not affordable. We aren't being competitive on a world market when it comes to attracting new companies. Companies are leaving rather than coming.
So does that mean you'll get rid of regulations, and will you lower the minimum wage?
First of all, we are going to get rid of the red tape and the regulations. I can't stand regulations. It's just a bunch of bureaucrats that run you around in circles and circles and circles. I'm used to all the regulations. You have to get rid of regulations, make it more competitive for any company in North America. We're competing in a world market now. So we have a facility down in the U.S., in Illinois, which is a overtaxed state, by the way. And if anyone's listening from Illinois, lower your taxes because you're losing business to Wisconsin and Indiana. But we have to make it competitive. We're competing against 50 states and dozens of countries. What's attractive to come here in Ontario in this sort of climate? Huge hydro cost, massive property taxes. We're going to address those. And we have to make it competitive and attractive for companies to come to Ontario. We have the brightest and the best people in the world here in Ontario. They have to make sure that they have a government. And I always say government doesn't attract jobs per se, but it gives you the environment to attract jobs.
Thank you for sitting down.
Thank you.